10-4, Baker 4. 1199 with Mounds and 18. All units respond.
Hello, I'm Charlie Smith, and I'm here today with Officer or Detective Michael Eracleo. I hope I said that correctly.
That's wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yourself?
I'm very well.
Good.
And I hear you just had a new promotion to a job that's brand new.
Correct. Yeah, so in July, the department decided that with the officers we currently have, myself, that we could split up a few positions and make a family service detective position all by itself.
Oh, that's very cool. And what kind of specific demographics do you work with?
Well, we work with all ranges of demographics. We have elder population, anyone over 60 in town. 0 to 18, we have a juvenile unit specific to that, but I'll assist with that. So the family services basically came out of the need for the town, the residents, to have more follow-up. Mm-hmm. We saw that there was an additional rise in mental health crisis, mental health illnesses that we responded to. And as officers, our main goal is to kind of change with the times. And we understand that mental illness is one of the biggest and largest amount of calls that we go on. So we had to retrain and newly train all the officers in mental health first aid, which we're all, trained in at this point. And then we decided, these follow-ups are key because we don't want to see that recidivism. We don't want to see these same people come through the doors and we know they're not getting the help they need. And the hospitals aren't always equipped to be able to handle that, especially Emerson, which is a smaller hospital. So it dedicated an officer, which I had the privilege of applying for and getting that position. And now every call dealing with domestic violence, mental illness, a family that might be in need of resources of any, whether it be housing, financial concerns, I get to go to those homes, either by phone or I go to the homes directly and meet with the families. And one of the bigger things that we do here in town is we try to identify anyone who's living with someone who may have some disability, be it on the autism spectrum, bipolar. And I try to go to that home and say, we're the police. We don't want to meet only when it's in crisis. We don't want to be there only when that person is maybe having an anxiety attack. We want to be able to show, we're here to be safe. We're here to make sure everyone's safe. And this is what it's going to look like in some of the things that we're going to expect when we do arrive. We are going to separate mom from maybe the child. And that could be something that causes extreme anxiety for that child. But if we have a chance to sit down and talk about it and say, when I come to the door, an officer that looks like me comes to this door, this is exactly what it's going to look like. You may see sirens. You may see a fire truck. Just to make sure everyone's okay. And we're not here to make an arrest. We know from research and data that we're never going to be able to fix the problem by arresting people. We have to address the mental health issue. And instead of maybe in the old times where we'd go to a call for a domestic violence, assault, and battery, we're now seeing that maybe the child has Asperger's and that we have to kind of work within that. And maybe a trip to the hospital to speak to someone, one of their psychologists or someone in the ED right in that moment is more beneficial for everyone involved and safer. And so we try to go to these homes and identify our residents who have these disabilities or any illnesses that, even if not fully diagnosed, I'm still going to put that in our computer system. So when an address pops up or a name pops up on our screen, you're going to go to 371 Main Street. That's this police station address. An alert will pop up and say, Mike Eracleo is living at that address or is associated with that address, and he is being diagnosed with autism. And so it gives our officers a better understanding of what kind of call we're going to and how to address it, how to maybe approach it slower, shut down the lights a little bit earlier. And I think it's been proven effective, and these people are really getting the connections. And that's really the hardest thing I think that the residents don't understand is how many resources. Massachusetts just has an enormous amount of resources, and just trying to make that connection is very difficult, right? They're already living in this very stressful environment. They're raising a child who may have more difficulties than another. Where's their time? Maybe mom's working full time, or dad's, or they both are. Where's their time to be able to say, who could help me out? Some people go to church, and that's wonderful. But there may be another resource out there. We may be able to help with finances, and they just don't know how to make that connection. So my job is to go out there and say, what are your needs? Let's try to meet those needs. And if I can't help them just by having a conversation and helping them navigate, then we work with other resources in town to be able to get to that goal. And that's really what it is. So it's a wonderful position. I think our chief and the command staff put this position together to address that need. And a lot of towns are going to this model. And being in small town Acton, it's just great that we still have enough without having to hire a new officer. We created this position from within. So we were able to maneuver a few different officers around and adjust some different schedules for this to happen without there being an increase in the budget, which naturally a lot of people are concerned about as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And so mental health is a major section of what you deal with. Is there any other, any people with addiction, stuff like that as well?
So the addiction, and everyone's unfortunately familiar with the opioid crisis here in the area. Middlesex County has been affected just like every other county in this country. On opioids, being the primary reason for overdose, and fentanyl being a big mixture component or a drug that's been mixed with all sorts of different drugs. So we're not just seeing it mixed with heroin, we're seeing it sprinkled in marijuana. So any recreational drug that's purchased on the street, we're starting to see things getting mixed in, right? People are trying to make money, they're trying to cut it with different agents, and the danger is increasing. So anytime there's an overdose here in town, within 24 hours from being released from the hospital, I'm going to be at your door, and we have a clinician from Elliott Mental Health, so Elliott Hospital out of Concord. We are on a grant with them. So her and I, Mackenzie is her name, we're going to go to that home and offer resources. We think, and evidence has shown, right, that if we go to that house within 24 hours, that they're more susceptible to say, let me get some help. I just went through this. I was revived by Narcan, a near-death situation. Maybe this is the time for some change. And we will then find a bed, maybe a detox center, a rehab center. And it has affected all of us. I mean, this year, fortunately, we haven't had any overdose deaths. I think we've done really well with the Narcan system. Marianne Ryan, our district attorney, has made that available for all departments in this county. And it has been probably the number one reason of non-fatal overdoses, is that we are able to every officer carries Narcan in their cruiser, and then we can administer that to, revive them long enough to get to the hospital where they can start to get treatment.
The saddest thing, I visited a sober house for part of interviews and stuff, and the saddest part was just hearing how many people got involved or got their issues started with just an injury. They just got an injury, and it just kind of snowballed from there, and they're just good people that just don't know where to go. And
these are loving family members who have, for one reason or another, gone down the wrong path. My goal is to keep them alive as long as possible. A lot of people will say, why are we out there saving? Why are we giving them $80 a hit for Narcan? This is an expense. You hear the worst things sometimes on the streets. Let nature take its course.
Right.
And why should they get a second chance? All they're going to do is get back on it and steal from people. You hear all this stuff, and to me, that's not the right vision. And that's not the vision we have. Our goal is to keep them alive. A lot of people will age out of the process, right? So more and more studies, more and more research. People that came over from Vietnam, they were hooked on a lot of drugs. When they came back from that war, they were hooked on a lot of drugs, but they were removed from that environment, and it just went away. They just got better. The brain is able to do that. And that's my goal. Keep them alive as long as possible, continue to offer treatment, and hopefully they can phase back out. That's someone's son, that's someone's daughter, maybe a mother or father. We're not there to judge. We're there to help, right? So we're going to continue going down that path. And if you start saying, where did this all start? Majority of it is from sports injuries, car accidents, big pharma, right? So that's a political issue of, did the pharmacy, are they going to be held responsible? There's plenty of lawsuits out about that and what they're going to have to pay as a result. But, at one time we were told that these drugs weren't addictive. And it was the right thing to do. So it's not the doctor's fault. It's not the teacher's fault for doing a certain drill for active shooter if they don't know the new training. You just go with what you're trained. So the bigger companies are going to have to start answering to those questions. But we have to deal with it now. It's in our face. Regardless of what they did, we have to be out there being proactive, offering assistance. Narcan's available for people who live with someone that may be using substances, so they can administer it themselves before we get there. So that's another opportunity to save a life.
That's huge. That's so important. And I had the chance to come and see you do a suicide prevention class the other day. And is that something that you do often, workshops like that?
So in 2017, we had unfortunate number of suicides here in town. So there was a coalition that began as a result called AB Cares. It was a bunch of stakeholders in the community who wanted to get together, learn how to be able to put out that new word. So we call it the QPR training, which is question, persuade, and refer. Right. So ask that question. Kind of offer help, let them know you're going to be there for them, and then refer them out to someone, maybe like myself, or refer them out to the hospital or a therapist. We want to make this as simple as can. We want everyone to be able to do this. So we're taking that wherever we can, be it the library. We trained over, I believe, 1,500 people at this point. We call them gatekeepers. That can just help. Maybe they hear something. Maybe the mailman hears something. Maybe the Meals on Wheels person hears something or doesn't see that person they normally do. It could be these small changes in behavior that could save a life. So we are trying to do that every month, at least somewhere in town. We usually put it on the AB Cares website. They have a Facebook page, United Way often. And even the Acton Police Department, we have our own Facebook page. And we'll try to put that message out there that we offer this free training for anyone who wants to come by. It's private. We don't take that information and say this person's here. We stay as late as people need to answer any questions. We've gotten great review from it. And like I said, if you help that one person, that's all you need.
That's all, yeah. That's really awesome. If people want to reach out to you, how can they get in touch with you?
Sure. My direct line is 978-929-7543. My email is Eracleo@actonma.gov. They can call the station, which is the non-emergency line, is 978-929-7711. They can ask for Detective Mike. There's an Officer Mike, so it's really easy to distinguish between the two. And I will call back within a day and see what I can do to help out. Sometimes it's just a conversation. A lot of people just call me to say, I received this scam, just wanted you to know about it. So when the monthly newsletter goes out at the senior center, I can say, this is a common scam we've been seeing. Any questions, contact me. So a lot of people will just leave messages for me, and I think it's wonderful to say, I'm getting these kind of phone calls, I'm getting this kind of mail. So anything you can think of. Or I just saw, after the press release I had about the new position recently, many families reached out and said, hey, listen, my son has autism. Is there a chance that you can come by? And 100%, that's what I want to do. That's what I love to do. So that to me would, any way you can try to reach me, you can just call the station and ask for me, and I'll get back to you.
That's very cool. Yeah. And is this a position that other departments have, or is Acton kind of one of the first?
Well, I think, and there's some models out there. Right now, it's just myself doing the position. I have wonderful resources. I have a wonderful, boss and command staff that allows me pretty much to flex my hours. So if I needed to meet your family at 8 o'clock tonight, even though my schedule might be 9 to 5, I can do 12 to 8 and meet with your family that night. So they're very understanding of the position. And say Cambridge, who has, what they call the Cambridge model, the Quincy model. There's a lot of big towns and cities that are doing this, and we said, well, we can do it here. We have issues here too that we need to take care of. Might only just be one officer at this time, but in the future it might be an entire division.
Yeah.
Some of the smaller towns around here are starting to say, we see that need and we need to address it. And fortunately, our chief was able to figure out how to do it, without hiring from the outside to bring in another person and an entire new salary.
Yeah, because that's actually something I had heard about on, I think it was something I heard on NPR. It makes me feel so grown up to say that, but I did. And it was about like social workers that have started to go around with cruisers.
Right.
And that kind of, I think it's really cool that you were able to do it internally. And so like you already know the area. And have you always worked with Acton Police Department?
Yeah, so I've been with Acton for 14 years. And we have a grant, we're probably on our 4th or 5th year. So Elliott has a jail diversion program, so JDP program, and we are assigned a clinician that meets in Acton every Wednesday. And we can float her days as well, but Mackenzie Diezik works with us every Wednesday, and she's the one that goes out in the field. And she also does all the follow-up. So she's going to, every single report that we do involving anyone with a mental health incident, she's going to call that family and say, is there anything I can do to help? Blank. And, whether we go out to the house or not is one thing, but she's going to call every single family and say, listen, I'm not the police. I work with them. I'm a clinician with Elliott, but I'll refer you to anyone that might be able to assist you. So she doesn't just say, I work for Elliott, so you can only go through Elliott. It's anyone, a DMH, anyone that she feels that could help you. And that's just an amazing program that we've had. And like I said, we're on our 4th year, and Mackenzie just joined us, I think, this year. After the 3-year grant, Mackenzie came in. She's been wonderful, and she's just picked up that ball and took off. And she wants to be out in the field and banging on doors as much as possible. She loves the face-to-face interaction. So that's been wonderful. The residents start to know us. Oh, Mackenzie just called me. It's so nice of you to follow up, Mike, and I appreciate it. And so we always work in tandem, and then we share a report online that says, who's been to that house already, who's called already. That way we're not duplicating our efforts. So it's a wonderful partnership, and we really want to see it continue as long as possible.
I think Acton has a really good network in general, like community-wise. Like we did the United Way Day of Caring recently, and we got to go around and see all the different organizations, and it was just awesome. Like I think it was housing goods, or there was just so many
housing goods,
things.
recycle management.
Yeah.
So, and we meet nearly every month or every other month with some different committees. But another part of my position is meeting with all the stakeholders in the town. Neighbor brigade, a friend in need, the food pantry, housing. We all sit in the same room at least every 60 days, at least one time at length. So we can sit there and say, how can we help each other? Every month or every other month, someone will present what they do. So, it could be food pantry or the United Way this month and says, this is what United Way wants to do. And I say, oh, that's awesome. Maybe we can collaborate. And I think that's one of the unique special things that Acton does, is that we are always willing to meet and say, what can I do to help you? And then in turn, maybe you can make my organization better. The connection here is amazing.
It really is.
Acton is an amazing town. I grew up in a nearby town, and I'm just so proud to see that Acton, me coming new to this community, just the amount of cooperation and collaboration that goes on in this town. Really, if there's anything you need, if you called any of us, we're going to continue that connection, because we get along so well, and we communicate so often that as soon as I hear, your last month, you're having a hard time with that. Well, you know what? I can connect you to Smock and Framingham or Marlboro. And we just always sit there and say, what's available? Smock came out to us and spoke at our town hall and gave a beautiful presentation for about an hour for all the services they offer. And I was even floored that they offer that many services. So we're just going to continue to keep doing that and going down that path.
That's really cool. I do think we should do coffee with cops, so I could just check in and see if there's anything new with being a cop.
Sounds good. And we do coffee with the cop. It's actually a small program we do here, and we try to announce that on our website. Anytime we hit like a restaurant or even a coffee shop locally, we announce that. We welcome anyone to come in, literally have a coffee with us. We provide all the donuts, munchins, coffees, and we just want to sit with people, and that's when you just start this dialogue. And it's good to build this rapport with the community and know, they're not just banging down our doors when something's wrong or there's an argument. We want to be a resource. We want people to be able to come up and say, let me give Officer Mike, Detective Mike, a call. Let me ask him about this. I saw someone in my neighborhood I wasn't comfortable with. Get that license plate, send it to me.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing the follow-up. It's my job. It's what I love to do. If I can keep this place safe, if you guys feel comfortable in your home, then I'm doing my job. And, that's just, we work together well. And that's what I'm hoping to do. And you guys have been amazing. ActonTV has always been very supportive of our efforts and all our programs, and you guys have highlighted those each time. And it's wonderful to work with you guys. I mean, that's one of those other collaborations we have that's special. Our public access is part of our community, and you guys really put that true spotlight on what's going on. So once again, the message gets out, because we might not know how to get that communication out, but someone's on YouTube or sees this on local access and they say, wow, I didn't even know, Mike was out there.
Yeah, right.
So we thank you too.
Public access is probably one of my biggest passions in life, and I'm not saying it because I'm sitting in the studio of Acton, but Acton really has the most impressive setup that I've seen. That's why I was so excited to get a job here.
We work in a wonderful town. I appreciate you having me on today. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And we're going to go on a ride along. So, yeah.
Let's go hit the street. I'd like to visit some of the places that I frequent. We're coming up here on the Human Services Building, which houses, all of our resources here locally in town, from the town hall setting. of the biggest things we do with this new position is go out to homes. And when a follow-up report comes in, the officers that are on patrol will initiate these calls. So there'll either be a call for service or a disturbance call or domestic, and they're going to go to the home and do whatever they have to do to make that scene safe. Whether it's transport to the hospital, contact a family member to assist, or just diffuse a situation. They're going to come back to the station and write a report. And that report is going to be forwarded to me automatically. So we created a shell of officers that primarily oversee these reports. Ultimately, it will get to me. And then I'll take that report and say, what's the best way to make contact with this family to assist.